To understand majoritarianism and accommodation better, let us take the case of two countries, Sri Lanka and Belgium. Sri Lanka, with its varied population of 2 crores, is an island country. It has 74% of Sinhala-speaking people who comprise mostly of Buddhists. Out of the remaining population, 18% speak Tamil. This group can be further subdivided into Indian Tamils, who form 5%, and Sri Lankan Tamils, who comprise 13% and are concentrated in the north and east of the country. The Indian Tamils are the descendants of migrant Indian workers who were plantation workers in Sri Lanka. These 18% Tamilians include both Hindus and Muslims. Christians make up the remaining 7% of the population. Sri Lanka used the idea of majoritarianism to handle this cultural diversity. After gaining independence in 1948, the Sinhalese majority attempted to remodel Sri Lanka as a Sinhalese nation-state. In 1956, the Official Language Act, popularly known as the Sinhala Only Act, was enacted. Special policies supporting the Sinhala aspirants for university and government posts were created. Buddhism was made the national religion. These moves augmented a sense of separation in Sri Lankan Tamils, and they felt they were denied political and social equality. Thus, the Sri Lankan Tamils began an upheaval with the objectives of acknowledging Tamil as an official language and to bring about social and political equality and regional sovereignty. By the 1980s, this upheaval grew into a demand for free Tamil Eelam, or state, in northern and eastern parts of the country. This led to a prolonged civil war, causing widespread disorder and extreme hindrance to the development of Sri Lanka. Let us now see how Belgium handled diversity. Belgium is located in northwest Europe. It shares its borders with the Netherlands, France, Luxembourg, and Germany. Out of the total population of around 1 crore, 59% speak Dutch and live in the Flemish region. 40% speak French and are settled in the Wallonia region, and 1% speak German. In contrast, the capital city of Brussels has 80% French-speaking people, and the remaining 20% speak Dutch. The French-speaking minority in Belgium were wealthy, and the Dutch community hated this, leading to tensions during the 1950s and 60s. This friction was highest in Brussels, where the Dutch-speaking community was a minority. Unlike Sri Lanka, Belgium took up the approach of accommodation. The number of Dutch and French-speaking ministers were made equal in the central government. A separate government was established in the capital city of Brussels, with equal representation of French and Dutch-speaking people, under the condition that neither of them could take a unilateral decision. Powers were shared with the state government, which was considered as equal to the central government. A third government, called the community government, elected by community members, dealt with the cultural, educational, and language-associated concerns of the community. The accommodation approach might look difficult, but has been successful in evading linguistic differences within the country. Did you know that the European Union has selected Brussels as its headquarters? This is to highlight the importance of accommodating many communities with various cultures and languages under one body. Thus, Belgium gave regard to the feelings of cultural differences, while Sri Lanka forced its domination over the minority class. Belgium ensured stability through its policy of accommodation, while in Sri Lanka, majoritarianism, even today, continues to be a threat to its unity and growth. Power sharing is always desirable as it lessens conflicts, ensures stability and unity, and enhances citizens' participation. There are two major reasons that make power sharing in a democracy desirable. These are prudential and moral. The first reason of power sharing is prudential, where the constancy of political order is increased by reducing the clashes between social groups. For example, as we studied in the earlier module, Belgium prudently applied the policy of accommodation to ensure stability amongst various culture groups. Did you know that the violent crisis that had paralyzed the African country of Zimbabwe in recent years was brought to an end by a prudent power-sharing deal between the president of the country and his political rivals? They formed a coalition to bring an end to the crisis. The second reason is moral, which emphasizes that the very act of power-sharing is valuable. It forms the basis of democracy. In a democracy, power sharing is important not only to those on whom it is exercised, but also to those who exercise it. Under moral power sharing, the government becomes legitimate, responsive, and responsible towards the people, as they are the source of political power. Power sharing can take many forms, but there are four most common ones. The first is the power sharing among different organs of government, such as the legislature, executive, and judiciary. This is called the horizontal distribution of power. Each organ, which holds parallel positions, checks the other, resulting in a balance of power among different institutions. This is also called a system of checks and balances. Power sharing in governments can also be at different levels. This can be national, state, or regional government. It can also be a self-governing body like the panchayats in rural areas and municipalities in urban areas. This higher and lower division of power is also called the vertical division of power. Power sharing in India is not limited to the government, but also present among different social groups, including linguistic and religious groups. In our country, many alienated groups are given reservations in the government. Under these reservations, minority and socially weaker sections are accommodated. Women are also represented accordingly. The reserved constituencies in India is an example of this form. Power sharing is also common among political parties, pressure groups, and movements. When a party fails to get a majority in the legislature, different parties come together to form a coalition government and share power. The UPA government elected in 2009, headed by Dr. Manmohan Singh, was a result of a coalition of different political parties. In addition, pressure and interest groups, directly or indirectly, influence the government in the decision-making process. Traders, farmers, and industrial workers also can form special interest groups. They have a share in the power by participating in governmental committees or affecting policies through movements.